What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Evil Does Not Exist, the new film from Japanese filmmaker Ryusuke Hamaguchi. I was eagerly anticipating Evil Does Not Exist for one key reason. Hamaguchi's last movie was Drive My Car. 2 years ago, Drive My Car, my number two film of 2021, a movie that won Best International Feature Film at the Oscars. Hamaguchi was nominated for Best Director, Best adapted screenplay as well. Complete knockout masterpiece of a movie I was really floored by. Evil Does Not Exist, the follow-up, obviously needs no introduction. People were ready for this one. This premiered back at Venice, won the Grand Jury Prize at Venice, the second place award there, and also won Best Film at the BFI London Film Festival as well. And it is going to get released by Janus Films this year, just like Drive My Car was. Now, Drive My Car only topped out in about 200 plus theaters, so it's going to be a small theatrical release, probably not until early 2024, to be honest. I was lucky enough to see Evil Does Not Exist early at the Independent Film Festival of Boston. I was obviously very happy to do so. And this is a movie that was originally conceived as a short film by Hamaguchi, and he kind of realized he could beef this up into more of a feature. And there apparently at one point was a companion piece film to this called Gift, using similar footage but telling kind of a different story. It's kind of unclear if that's still the case or that that's ever going to be publicized. But either way, Evil Does Not Exist. We know it's coming out later in the year. And it's a movie that and I'm not going to spoil anything really, it's a movie that I like and appreciate, but it didn't wow me the same way Drive My Car did. And it's really quite a different kind of movie. It's kind of been commonly described as an ecological parable as a story, but it can be a bit hard to grasp or hard to fully explain the full takeaways of the movie. But I think the core of it is definitely fun to invest in. We're set in this place called Mitsubiki Village. We're kind of in the Japanese countryside, away from, the big city life of Tokyo, and we're introduced to this, kind of bucolic village, which is kind of undamaged, uncorrupted by, modern life for the most part. There's this community that's small and tightly knit, and they kind of work in unison in a certain sense, and we're introduced to it by our lead character Takumi, played by Hitoshi Omika, who's actually new to acting. He was previously an AD on Hamaguchi's one of his past films, and Takumi is kind of a jack of all trades character. One of the things he does is he acquires natural spring water out in the woods for the local udon restaurant, because that natural spring water just makes the food that much better. And the movie, Hamaguchi's camera, I think it's very, very patient. We're kind of introduced to Takumi, and we literally watch him chop wood, and it's like very long. You could say almost indulgent scenes where we watch things just kind of happen, and we stay there and we sit with it. We watch Takumi walk through the trees, and the camera just kind of walks with us or holds a pose. We just watch things happen. It's very patient. And the conflict in Evil Does Not Exist comes up where this town, Takumi's town, there's a community hearing where all the locals attend, because there's this company from Tokyo has bought land, in the area to set up a kind of luxury glamping project for tourists, bring people from out of town to do fancy camping in this village. They have this hearing where the locals can share their concerns and whatnot. And one of the concerns that comes up is the septic tank for this glamping site, and how it will affect the local water supply and the pollution that it will cause, and the changes it will make to the community. And the representatives of this camping project are these two workers for the company who actually are PR agents, kind of hired just to deal with the locals and put on a show for the sake of their company, even though the company wants to proceed through and get this camping site made on schedule and on time, while they still have access to the subsidies they've been granted. And that's a conflict that I think we all can rationally understand and grasp. It makes a lot of sense. And is that the evil being presented, quote unquote, right? And then from there, we get introduced to these PR agent people. There's, I think, a really important scene where they're in a car ride together back to the village, driving from Tokyo back to the village. And they're talking about their lives and themselves and the guilt and kind of shame they feel for pushing this unwanted and not well thought out project on these people who didn't ask for this. And they kind of come across as sympathetic and fully rounded characters as well, and it really humanizes them. And Takumi is willing to kind of help advise them on things. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the core of the plot, per se. Takumi has a young daughter that Hana, who he sometimes forgets to pick up from school, and that kind of comes up later. But yeah, I think it's a movie that it doesn't fully like hold your hand about what it's completely about by the end. I think there's a very, I think, important to sit with kind of final scene, final shot, and what that means, and that's definitely up for interpretation. It's a overall, I think, an interesting film. It's an engaging film. To me, I did find it a hair slow, just because like we spent a lot of time with some of the build-up, but when we do have like dialogue scenes, they are pretty compelling and interesting, but didn't quite totally grab me the way Drive My Car did. That's a movie that has, I think, this really complex character dynamics, and Evil Does Not Exist, maybe because it was conceived as a short film, feels a little bit undercooked, or at least a little bit simpler. Um, but even though it might come across a little bit simpler, it doesn't actually feel as perhaps fully defined by the end. I don't know, it's hard to say. I think it's definitely a movie that's going to have interpretations with the wide gamut. So, interesting film. Happy I saw it. But let me know, how did you feel about Evil Does Not Exist? How would you compare it to Drive My Car? They're very different. And for more movie reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.